Ready? Welcome back to From Ideas to Income. Hi, Dan.
Hi, Becky.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm excited about this episode.
Me too. Tell us what it's a little bit about.
Yeah, today's episode, we have a truly unique founder who has managed to blend two seemingly different worlds into one successful business. We're talking to David from Geek Parties Theater. I think that's what it was, right? Geek Parties Theater.
Yes, that's great.
It's a company that's based out in Grand Junction, Colorado, and it brings the magic of live theater to a whole new, passionate audience. Now, David's story is a fascinating look into how a founder can create a loyal community by speaking their niche-specific language. So I know that everybody's going to love this one.
They are. David is super amazing.
The interview went on for a while, so I don't think we're going to have a very long intro or outro. I think we're just going to talk about one or two things afterwards, but I think David nailed it and got all the information we could possibly get and more from our conversation with him.
Let's go!
Okay, everybody, I'm here with David, right?
Yes, David Kenworthy.
Kenworthy of Geek Parties of the Grand Valley, right?
Mm-hmm, that's right, Geek Parties of the Grand Valley.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
David's company is a nonprofit, right?
That's correct. We are a nonprofit, a registered nonprofit for the state of Colorado in good standing.
Awesome. So if you could, just to kick things off, if you could give us a little elevator speech of what your company is and what it does.
Sure, I'd love to. Geek Parties of the Grand Valley is a group that was started by a couple of teachers about 10 years ago. And they do events, fandom events, special events for people of all ages. So they started just getting together with dinner parties, doing game nights, doing special events that were themed events like Doctor Who and Star Wars and things like that, doing Lego builds, and basically just a fun group for folks of all ages. Then it's slowly but surely transformed into a group that also produced theater. They started doing readings of Edgar Allan Poe. That was one of the first things they started doing, and then Shakespeare. And over the last 10 years, it's evolved to the point where we're now doing a full 5-show season of different shows, including the Summer Shakespeare series, which is 2 Shakespeare shows, and those are always free admission for people. And then we do a spring show. We do a fall event, which is the Poe Project, which was the thing I mentioned earlier, which is readings from Edgar Allan Poe and Poe-related and adjacent works, kind of something spooky they do during Halloween season. And then we do a big musical at the end of the year. In November, we'll be doing Bright Star, which is a musical by Steve Martin and Edie Brickell.
Wow.
And it's neat. It's a bluegrass musical.
I think that's the one that Len did in high school.
Really?
I think that's the one. Bright Star.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
I think that's the one that we've seen a high school version of that one.
Nice.
So now seeing a community, like a theater, a different approach that will be different.
I'm excited for that.
I'd love to have you for it. And that one's going to be at the Avalon downtown, the historic Avalon Theater in downtown Grand Junction. And it's a blast of a show. I'm not a big bluegrass guy, but it's just beautiful music and great acting. So, and female strong roles, which I don't think there's enough of in theater. So we've been doing a lot of that sort of thing.
That's great. So when you guys got started, and you were thinking about going into the theater aspect of things, and you wanted to start bringing that out to the public, how did you kind of make sure that there was an audience for this? Like, what did you go through to figure out that there was enough people to actually make this a viable project?
Well, it was a lot of trial and error. I've got to tell you that to start. I ended up in Grand Junction, and that's where the story begins for me, at least. Back in 2002, I was brought in as a professional actor. There used to be a dinner theater here in Grand Junction called the Cabaret Dinner Theater that was right on Main Street and had a great following. So we knew it was marketable in this town. We knew there were a lot of theater people who enjoyed coming to see live events. I worked for them 7, almost 8 years, but then during the economic downturn, 08, 09, they started to have difficulties, and it was kind of a perfect storm of economic difficulties, and so the Cabaret Dinner Theater closed. Now, at that point, I tried to form my own private company and start producing shows on a regular basis. It was difficult to find startup cash for that sort of thing. So we went to different sources. We used a lot of corporate and local sponsors, things like that, to get a show on the boards. The problem never seems to be an audience. It's getting that initial cash to pay for the essential elements of a production. And the essential elements of doing a theater production are the rights, meaning the performance rights that you have to actually apply for if it is a show that is not in the public domain. And so that usually adds up to several $1,000s, depending on the show. And then, of course, all your production costs, sets, props, costumes, and also trying to pay your talent, especially the higher up talents that put a lot of time into this, leads in shows, your director, your vocal director, if it's a musical, your band if you have a live orchestra or band playing for it. All those elements are difficult to get money together. So after doing it on the private sector for several years, I learned that it was easier to get productions together as a nonprofit, because then you could apply for a variety of grants, both state and national available grants.
Okay.
Yep, a lot of our arts grants, some of them sponsored or actually made available by the NEA, the National Endowment of the Arts. Now we, since we're a local group, we use a lot of our funding through the Grand Junction Commission on Arts and Culture, which is a great little group here in town that does exactly this. Grants money to worthy organizations that have a social cause. So we do, a lot of our shows are either free and open to the public, or it raises money for other nonprofits. So for an example, our musical is a joint fundraiser that raises money for our theater company and for the Avalon Foundation that helps make sure that community groups can perform at the Avalon Theater. We also do outreach program. We go and perform for senior living facilities and assisted living facilities, and we often do readers theater for the seniors who can't get out and go enjoy a show. So
Nice.
we sometimes bring shorter versions of shows to them, and little shows that we'd like to do. A lot of our shows and our performances are in the public domain, so we don't have to pay rights on them. With Shakespeare, William Shakespeare's family is not going to come after us for money, which is a good thing. And then same thing with Edgar Allan Poe, and then we do some of his contemporaries like Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. We did a Sherlock Holmes mystery the year before last, and then things like actual adaptations from stories like H.P. Lovecraft and things like
Wow,
that.
that's
so
interesting.
yeah, we have a lot of fun with that, and various people in our organization put these things together and do adaptations. We also do the same thing with Shakespeare. For an example, sometimes we do Shakespeare that's straight out of the book from William Shakespeare's works, but sometimes we do adaptations that are more common language so that it's more approachable for people. A lot of people get lost with the these, thous, and
Yeah,
those.
I can see that.
Yeah, and so we put it in more common language, and then we also set things in different time periods, because people get a little used to the Shakespeare, fluffy ruffled shirts and things like that, and they have a certain attitude towards Shakespeare, and so we do things like I did an adaptation of Titus Andronicus set during the Civil War. So instead of a Roman general, Titus was General Titus, a Union general in the Army. Yeah. And then the other side that he fights against is the Confederates. And so, yeah, we put it in a different time period. One of them that you got to see, Taming of the Shrew, we set in the Old West.
Yeah, I love that one.
And it was a lot of fun.
It was really good.
Yep.
I think we watched it twice. One was a little bit longer than the other one. I don't know.
Yes.
But we saw two of them. I was like, I don't remember this scene. I think this is a little bit longer.
Yeah,
So.
and we do that sometimes. We also, depending on the venue and the audience that we're performing for, we sometimes shorten the show a little bit. If we're doing outdoor Shakespeare, it's sometimes hard for people to sit in the heat. So we try to keep that well under 2 hours, maybe down to an hour and a half.
I think the difference when we saw it once at night and it got dark. And then the second day we saw it in the park in the middle of the day. So we picked up more.
Yes.
And I think that's when you jumped in was the second. And
that
it was
sounds
so, we absolutely loved it. And our mom was in it and she was hilarious. That was probably, I don't know, it was funny. It was way funny.
Yeah, with the missing scenes, I thought I was losing my mind. I was like, I don't remember this scene. We just saw this yesterday. How did I not see it?
That's one of the neat things, and I don't mind saying that, is that with live theater, and one of the reasons I enjoy doing movie work, I've done movie work in the past, but I love doing live theater because you're never going to see the same performance, no matter what, because you've got a lot of different variables on stage. So you know, somebody might forget a line, have to cover, have to make something up, and then you've also got a different audience every night. So you've got different energy being fed between the actors and the audience, and you just can't get that with a movie. You've got, you know, on a movie set, you've just got your tech people reacting to you, and they're supposed to stay quiet, so you can't you're not feeding any energy from there, and it's very staid. It has to be that line, and they may have you do it 50 times to get the right read. With theater, you don't have that luxury. You're going to do it different every time almost. So
when you're getting started, right?
Yes.
Going into the marketing aspect of it.
Yes.
Right? What was your getting started? Like, what was your first kind of marketing that you did, and what kind of marketing did you figure out was really worked for you guys?
Good question. And our marketing strategy is still evolving. I want to say that right off the bat, because with the advent of social media and so many different social media sites, we're trying to get a presence on several of the upcoming platforms and things like that. Your Instagram, your TikTok, things like that. We started largely doing marketing through Facebook. A lot of our members and a lot of our audience members, both the actors and technicians as well as the audience, were on Facebook for a lot of their social activity, to find out information about what's going on. So we do a lot of posts on social media. We try to do videos on social media, and now evolving into Instagram and TikTok and things like that. We use our website, which is a go-to place for everything that people need. And then also with our partnership with the City of Grand Junction, we get to submit events and get vetted by the City of Grand Junction for the tourist trade. So we make sure and get on the community calendars for the city, so that anybody here in the area, as well as folks visiting from out of town, can jump on a local website that has all the great events going on in the Grand Valley. And if we're a part of that, and we're part of the theater heading, anybody who's looking for theater can find us easily.
Okay, cool. So, like, your website is going to be your central hub.
Yes.
Was Facebook your most successful platform to be using it?
Yes, up to this point.
Still your first?
Now it's changing, and that's a really good question too. Is that Facebook has been our go-to social media platform, but as we're evolving as a group, we're finding that a lot of folks are moving away from Facebook. That Facebook is starting to become the social media site that's used for an older audience. Now we have a lot of mature people, let's put it politely, and I'm in that boat, that use Facebook a lot, but a lot of the younger folks are using, like I said, the Instagram, the TikTok, some of those newer sites, and so that's why we're trying to evolve as a group, because we've seen that quite honestly, an audience can die off, both literally and figuratively.
Yeah, wow.
And so in that sense, a group can lose a lot of its coverage if they don't keep up with what the younger folks are paying attention to. And so if you're using Facebook, but the majority of the 20s and 30 somethings that you're trying to bring out for the theater, both as participants and as audience members, you have to get into those new social medias that they're using. Instagram, Threads, another one that I'm learning about. So
You're learning about that one too.
Yeah, right. Exactly. There is a big learning curve with that. And I would say that for both nonprofit businesses as well as other for-profit businesses, is that the more you find out about your social media presence and who your targeted audience is, you have to get that presence on there. And it's not just a once a week, once a month post. You have to be posting things almost daily to get in people's feeds and get in people's minds. And that's what we have been working on through these last 2 seasons, is evolving as a group and making it clear that there are other venues, other places that you can find information about our group.
Yeah, especially with a niche audience, like
yes,
Shakespeare theater kind of a customer. You need to be able to get to all of them, and who knows what they all use. So you got to kind of blanket that market. Now, what kind of challenges do you run into with all? Because I know that you're doing this in different pop-up locations.
Yes.
So what kind of challenges do you run into finding locations and getting that kind of set up?
Venues are a hard part of things, and as a producer, and I've been producing along with our president of the board, Ann Harder, and finding venues are tricky sometimes. However, we have found some great people here in the Valley, generally, and I'm going to say not even generally, we work with small businesses. We work with locally owned businesses, and they want something that will draw new people to their business. So, upcoming show is Richard III. We're going to be doing Richard III, a classic tragedy of Shakespeare, and we're setting it in Candyland. Yes. All of the characters are going to be candy.
Wow.
Richard III is going to be a chewed up piece of bubble gum, as a matter of fact.
I think that we've talked about that. I think that Mom was talking about how but she didn't tell us what it was. She said she was going to be a piece of candy, and I was like, a piece of candy? What?
Side note, Becky's not my sister. It's my mom. I'll cut that part out.
Sorry.
No, that's okay, but it does get confusing, especially when you do something like this. But we try to, and that's part of that whole Shakespeare, is getting people in saying, "I've never seen a Candyland Shakespeare. That's bizarre.
Yeah,
I have to see this." So that's what we draw people in, and then helping those businesses by drawing people in, getting that odd earworm or visual worm that says, well, I've never seen anything like that. I've heard of Richard III, or I've seen a production, traditional Shakespeare way back in the day. This is going to be something different. And then we give them someplace interesting and new to go to. Peachfork Winery, which is a beautiful location up on East Orchard Mesa, which is kind of a little raised up out here for your listeners so that they kind of know what our community is like. So it's a little cooler up on the mesa. So in the summer, about 10 degrees cooler. It's surrounded by apple orchards and vineyards all around you.
That sounds pretty.
Doesn't it sound nice? And then fresh, not fresh, so in some cases fresh, but wonderful beverages that are available there at the winery so that people can try out the winery. And then we often bring out food trucks and arrange food trucks to come out so that we've got essentially a dinner theater, ready-made pop-up dinner theater.
I think that was one of my favorites when we were at the Edgewater Brewery.
Yes.
Because it was like, I've been there twice now and I've got to try different things.
Yes.
But I think that's one of the more personable places that I've watched one of the plays.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun there. There's several different locations where we're going to be popping up through the summer. Another one that's just down the street from where you saw Edgewater is Gemini Brewery, and they also have fresh house-made beers, and they have food trucks out on the side, and a variety too. So there's an Asian food truck, there's a barbecue food truck, and there's usually a burrito place too. And so
I'm hungry.
I know it's making my stomach growl as we talk about it. But that way, if you bring a family to an event like that, there's something for almost everybody. And of course, they have beer on the lawn, so you can drink your beverages out there, get your food, settle in for a play. We take our intermission, so you can go get a refill or go get desserts, and it's just been a really successful thing. So we have also expanded some of our venues. The last show we did at a local bar called Good Judy's downtown off of First Street, and that was a different clientele. We're trying to keep it the variety in there so that it's something for everybody. And if you don't like one show, guess what? The next show might be just for you.
Which location was the most interesting for you to have to set up a stage and get everything all working?
Since you mentioned it, Edgewater was an interesting venue. We had an option to do it on the front lawn or in their back room, and you may have seen a show in both places. And that was interesting because sometimes the same thing happened. I hate to say this, but the both places, Gemini, we had to, because of inclement weather, and that is one of the dangers with doing outdoor theater. If out of nowhere, we don't get much rain here in the valley, but out of nowhere, if a rainstorm pops up, you suddenly have to pack up your entire set, move everything inside, and then reset and get ready.
Wow.
And sometimes make up your blocking as you go along, because you're blocking where you move on the stage. You have to be adaptable. Yeah, it's not like doing a traditional stage show where you have a venue. Now, that is one of the biggest challenges we face, and we are still looking for a decent place that we can perform that would be a central location. It's difficult to do that here in the Valley. Also, we'd like to still do touring productions so that people who can't come further out or to a location. But because of that, a lot of our props, a lot of our costumes, and a lot of our set pieces are stored at people's house in a storage facility, and we have to get it all out, load it onto a trailer, bring it to a location where we can paint it, or saw the pieces and screw it in and fix all these up, and then put it all away somewhere until we're ready to actually move to a location where we're doing.
This is classic theater, putting something up real quick, getting the show done, striking, getting out of there, getting to the next location.
Yeah, I don't know how old your audience, some of your audience members are, but I often compare it to those old movies that I grew up with as a kid with Judy Garland and Mickey Rooney. Just let's put on a show. You find a barn or a tent or any place, and you just put on a show. And it's an awesome feeling. It does present some challenges, though.
It does, but I mean, as an audience member, you get to enjoy something that I think it's a dying art. Like, you don't see too much of this anymore, not mainstream anyway.
Yeah, I think, and that is one of those things with why we were trying to get on social media is over the last 10 years at least, so much has gone to online. You've got your YouTube videos, you've got your Netflix, you've got your Hulu, all these different online platforms, and people have tended, especially since the pandemic, to just stay at home and hide out and do their stuff. And so live performance was becoming quite a dying art, and I think the pandemic almost killed a few groups. As a matter of fact, I used to work with the Grand Junction Senior Theater, and unfortunately, they folded entirely during the pandemic. They don't do
gosh.
shows anymore, and part of it was that they lost several members during the pandemic, and so we lost several of the participants, and several of them, because of the extended home stays that we had to do during that period, there was just no live theater allowed. So it became very difficult. I'm very glad we're past that, and hopefully my group, along with a lot of other great groups here in town that we support, we have several what we call sister organizations that do live performance, and we try to support them. We do a theater roundtable every 3 months, quarterly, and we just sit down and talk about what shows, what our seasons are planned for coming up, and we try not to step on each other's toes. We try to make sure that our shows are not all scheduled for one weekend.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and if we can spread it out, then there's more fun for everybody, and other people can participate, because our talent pool is only so deep. So a lot of our actors work with multiple companies, and if they can plan it out so that they can do a show in February and then be rehearsing for a show that opens in March, then that makes it a lot easier for people. If you've got a show on the exact same weekend, that means those people are just not going to be able to participate. They have to choose one or the other. So
that's an interesting aspect that I didn't think about, right?
Uh-huh.
Like,
Yep.
a lot of times there's a reason that people do that, because they want all of the audience.
Yes.
Like, that's why sometimes football will play at the same time, because they want all the audience on one side and not share, right?
Exactly.
So that's interesting. Another thing that I was thinking about while you're talking is that we in Utah, we don't have anything like this.
that's a shame.
And we used to have a dinner theater where you go to a dinner and they would have the play around you while you're reading.
Yes, of
but
course.
that folded during the pandemic because
Yep.
the restaurants and that just couldn't keep up. We're 5 years past that, but we're still not seeing any resurrection of that.
No, and it's hard. Logistically, putting something like that together, number one, it takes a while to get all the structures built, and whatever you're putting together. And if it has been sunk, and again, I come back to the Cabaret Dinner Theater that used to be here, it was the same kind of thing. And when they closed, they auctioned off all of their sets, props, and costumes.
Oh, no.
It's all gone. So who knows where that stuff is? It could be sitting in somebody's garage. It could have gone across the country. We don't know. So a lot of those resources that you have, they're lost. Also, professional actors, the professional caliber actors that worked at the Cabaret, once it folded, if you rely on theater to be your bread and butter for your family or for yourself, that means you have to go where the work is. So all of a sudden, that's where your talent pool suddenly gets more shallow, because the people that you were counting on, I lost some great friends that worked here in the area that were professional caliber, truly. And that's why, because as soon as they didn't have a job, a real paycheck here, then they moved to Denver or they moved to Chicago, New York. One of the guys went to London, England, and did a
Wow.
did a performance out there. So people just scatter at that point. Here, luckily, we are starting to build up that talent pool and that support for actors that they can still get their performance fix, as it were. Unfortunately, we're still not to the point, and that's when I would like to do, if we can actually do a central theater or dinner theater, we need to pay people. And so that's what we're building up, is being able to get, in addition to grant money, sponsorships with corporations and local businesses who buy advertisement in the program. And once we have that kind of working budget, and we've done it a few times with a few of our shows where we can actually pay a stipend, a reasonable check to our actors, technicians, and production staff. And that is hard to come up with, and that's why we've seen several of the dinner theaters, probably in Utah, but also here, fold, because that money just went away for a while.
Yeah, that's an interesting niche, right? Because, especially in this world, you'll have people that want to be an actor more than they want money. And so you'll
That's
see
true.
a lot of people that will volunteer, but
Yes.
you kind of pay for what you get sometimes, They really try hard, but So it's kind of a thing. Now, as your company kind of got stable, what's your mission statement currently?
Our mission statement is that we do inclusive events that, again, are for all ages, regardless of race, creed, color, religion, whatever it is, something fun for everyone to do. I've got a very, and I can probably even pull up our exact mission statement that gives you a really good idea, but that's the general overview. And to keep in mind, I am the theater director. My official title is the executive theater director of Geek Parties Theater, but Geek Parties of the Grand Valley do a lot of other events as well as theatrical events. We do Austen Fair, which is works of Jane Austen. We do some readings from Jane Austen, but we also do crafts and arts and crafts type of things that people can do there. We also do fandom formals, which are people get a chance to dress up. We have in different costumes and get together. We do poetry readings. We do tea parties, which a lot of the female members prefer, although the guys will participate too and have some fun. I did not do the sparkly tea party, but it looked like a lot of fun. But yeah, we do all those kinds of things and a lot more. And so our mission is to provide those kind of fantastic events for people to participate in. And it really is supposed to be a group that gives something for everybody. If you don't like theater, that's okay. We're doing other things that you might be interested in. And that's why we are a nonprofit, is we do things that appeal to as many people as humanly possible. Our mission statement essentially is we celebrate the geek within everyone, regardless of identity, culture, belief, or ability. We will do our best to accommodate our participants' needs, and then you can reach out to us. We try to make sure all of our venues are accessible to people with all different kinds of needs and things like that. So we are a community group. That is at our very core. It's something that we want to make our community a better place with all the events that we do.
What a great mission statement. Now, it's really important to have a mission statement in your company because it really kind of guides the company in a direction, especially from the top down.
Yes.
Like if you have a strong mission statement, you'll know what every meeting is about. You'll know what everything is, because you're all going toward that mission statement. Without it, it's kind of chaos. There's a couple companies that we've talked to in the past that didn't have one, and you can kind of feel that kind of chaos where nobody really knows the direction they're going, but I really like it. I think Becky has a question.
I do have a question for you.
Yes, of course.
So will you share a moment with me?
Of course.
Where the show must go on.
Oh, yes.
And how did everybody adapt to that?
And that's a good question. And I'm going to use something that you guys saw. The Taming of the Shrew. Taming of the Shrew, we had a wonderful actor playing the lead, who is a core. There's two leads in that show. Kate, of course, and then the part that I played, Petruchio. And I was not originally cast in that role. I was actually just producing. I didn't direct that show. I had only attended a few rehearsals, I think. And I was just working on, as you mentioned earlier, getting the venues set up, setting up contracts with the venues so that we knew exactly where, when, what time. So I had my producer hat firmly on, and that's what I was doing with that show. About a week before we opened, one of the lead, Petruchio, got sick. He got diagnosed with long COVID.
Wow.
Yeah, because we were still getting those COVID diagnoses long after everything happened. And it really snuck up on us. The young man who was playing the lead, a wonderful actor. He's just a great guy. And I've been acting with him since he was a little kid. He's now in his mid-20s, I think, now. I worked with him over at the Cabaret, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. He was part of the kids kids choir in that. So he was now the lead in this, and he was doing fantastically. And then that long COVID, he got that diagnosis, and he just felt horrible. And he tried to do a few rehearsals with a mask on and try to keep up, and it was just draining him. So I suddenly got a call just a few days before we opened and said, Dave, we need you to play Petruchio. And I had not even looked at the script. I didn't know that. I knew the show, but only from the old movie that starred Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor. That's what I grew up with many years ago. And so I was like, okay. And so as the producer, since I have worked my way up over the last 3 decades, when you're up that high, that means that if somebody gets sick, you have to step in for them. Anybody who, if you've had a business on that does food service, you know that you're a manager, but that means that if the dishwasher calls in sick and you don't have a dishwasher, guess who's washing
you're taking
dishes?
over. Like
Exactly.
You're in that role now. But honestly, I saw you in The Taming of the Shrew.
Oh, yes.
I would have not known.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
That you hadn't practiced that.
Yeah.
That you had not rehearsed with these guys because it was fantastic.
I think I had 2 rehearsals, 2 maybe 3 rehearsals. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I watched it and you did a really great job.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And that's something I learned from being a grunt from way back in the day. Back when I was in one of my favorite stories that goes along with that is that back when I was doing professional theater for the Cabaret here, we were doing Beauty and the Beast, which is quite a show. A huge undertaking. And I was in that show and we did 134 performances, I believe it was.
Wow.
Yeah, because it ran for 3 months and then we extended it to 4 months because it was selling so well here. And one performance, I'm sure most of your viewers are familiar with Disney's Beauty and the Beast. LeFou, the sidekick to Gaston, was doing the Gaston number in the bar room, and he was a catcher for baseball in college and had weak knees, and he was dancing and he literally stress fractured his knee on stage. Oof. Dropped to the ground, crawled off stage in character, and then crawled off stage, went to the stage manager, and you know a stage manager, having a stage manager sitting there on a headset and having an actor crawl off stage and say, call 911.
Oh my God.
Wow.
I had never played LeFou, and I put on his costume and played LeFou for the second act.
Wow.
I had a script backstage reminding me what I was supposed to say. So I have had those kind of instances happen numerous times over my career. And that's exactly what you said is the show must go on. And boy, there are a lot of examples of that.
Well, it's good that you can fill those roles.
Yeah, and you get that kind of experience, and part of it is confidence. Part of it is when you're thrust into the fire, as it were, you step up. You know you have to do it, and so you do it.
And that doesn't end at like the actors. Like if the light guy doesn't show or the sound guy doesn't. I remember there might have been a couple that I was at. Mm-hmm. Where I saw you back over testing microphones, making things work.
Yep. And that has happened. I once, and this is a very almost embarrassing, but I was directing a show at the Avalon. I did Unsinkable Molly Brown, and the guy who was running our sound got arrested on a DUI the night before we opened. And so that was the first show I was hoping to be a director and just sit in the audience and enjoy the show. And of course, at the last minute, nope, I was running sound.
Now, do you get to sit as a director and watch, or is there times that you're constantly just stepping up?
Very rarely, but occasionally it happens. Luckily, the last musical we did at the Avalon last November was a very interesting piece called Cannibal the Musical.
Yeah.
Cannibal was written by Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the guys who are famous for South Park nowadays, and it is based on a real character, a real event that happened here in Colorado. A man named Alfred Packer, who guided a group of 6 people into the Colorado Rocky Mountains in the dead of winter, and only he came back. And then when they started searching and trying to find where his companions went, they found the remains, but they were partially eaten.
Oh my.
Yes, and so it's an interesting story.
I think that's one that our nephew Ben played in, right?
Oh yes, Benny was in that.
Ben played in that one.
Ben was.
And he loved it. As Ben would say when he goes to the geek partner theaters, is these are my people. And that's my favorite thing that Ben says about.
I love that. And that's, again, coming back to that mission statement, is that we open this up for everybody. We have had folks of all different walks of life involved in our shows, literally all ages, different physical abilities. One of our actresses has MS. She's a regular participant, so she has to walk with canes when she does a show. And often if she's doing an outdoor show, she has to wear an ice vest to keep her cool. Wow. So we try to watch her very carefully, make sure she's in the shade, has fans on her. But we don't want anything that we do to not be accessible to people, that we can participate. And Ben's a great example. He came to us with Grandma as a very young man, and basically he just said, I want to be a part of this. And so we did. We made him a part of it. And sometimes his attention gets a little off, as most kids that age. And so we give him breaks. We let him go play in the toy room with the younger kids until we need him, and then we say, all right, Ben, it's time for you to do your part. He comes out, does his part, and then he gets to go play again.
I think it's good that you adapt to everyone.
We do.
That there's not just I know how Ben is. I love him.
Yep.
But I know that his attention span is 2 or 3 minutes, but you guys are able to adapt and pull him back in.
Yep.
And I know Grandma tells me all kinds of stories about Ben. I think my favorite one was you guys were practicing at a park, and he showed up with a kitten.
Yes, out of nowhere.
And then you're like, Ben, go take that back. But then
put the kitten back.
Put the kitten back. But you're still able to pull him in.
Yes.
And he's able to stop what he's doing, and you guys are able to work with him for those few minutes that you need him, and then he goes.
Exactly.
And he burns the energy.
He does. And that's a great way. And I've got 2 boys myself. I've got 2 teenage boys, and I know the importance of that, to give them something to do besides just sitting and playing computers or watching YouTube videos. And there is an element to that no matter what for the kids these days, but this is something that does keep them healthy, keep them active, and keep them social. And again, that's for all of us. For our older folks, we don't get out enough sometimes. And so that's why we love to have folks involved in that. And we've actually ended up with several of the members of the senior theater working with us. Since the senior theater dissolved, there's nothing just for seniors anymore. So we incorporate that in. And the more you're able to open your doors to people and work with them, I've found the more you're going to get out of your actors, out of your people, and the loyalty and people who are willing to step up. If somebody gets sick, like we had in one of our last performances of 12th Night, somebody got sick at the last minute, and so we have a dedicated crew that somebody was willing to say, yep, I'll do it. And that's something that a lot of businesses and nonprofits don't have. You don't have that loyalty.
Absolutely. Now, do you have a go-to story where you've had a really good audience, or an audience that was really impacted? Or what's your favorite story of a good audience?
And we have had so many. It's hard to just narrow that down to an extent. Recently, and I did with a different group actually. We performed a show called The Breakfast Club, which
I missed that.
Yeah. One of our good friends, one of our sister theaters, as we say, or I guess brother theater in this case, Todd got permission from Mike Nichols' company to do a stage adaptation of The Breakfast Club. And so we did the Breakfast Club set in modern times. So we updated it, still the same script and the same idea, but a few updates. I got to play Vernon, the jerk teacher who is being mean to all these kids. And we did it as what we call an immersive experience. And so every time a group of audience members came in, I would introduce them as if they were in detention with the rest of the kids. And of course, several of the audience members I knew or things like that. And so I would pick on them and I would make up some offense that they did. So, if, I'd walk them in and say, Peter, you're here again. Yes. The opposing football team's mascot, that pig will never get over what you did to it. And we walked, and I just started making things up. I got to do a lot of improv in the early stages, and the audience would play along. They would have so much fun. They would act as if they were in detention and talk back to me, and things like that. So that was a very recent one. I love it when the audience is able to participate. A lot of traditional theater, and I do love doing those kind of shows where you have what us actors call the fourth wall. That means that there is a wall between the audience and the actors, the stage, exactly. And so the audience is behind that wall as if they're able to look through this invisible wall and see a slice of life, see something play out, which is great. I enjoy breaking that fourth wall, whether it's throughout the show or just at moments in the show where you actually interact with the audience and make them a part of the show, at least to some degree. And those moments are often some of the best with an audience, and you get that energy from the audience where they feel it. Now, on the other side of it, that sometimes breaks down in a bad way, or a funny way. Since you mentioned Bright Star, and I'm so glad that you've seen a production of that. I did a production of it at a professional theater back in Indiana 3 years ago. I take working vacations to go work at professional theaters back in the Midwest where I'm from, and that's where I first got to be a part of Bright Star. I was in that, and I don't want to give the audience, I don't want to give too much away about the show, but right before intermission there is a scene where one of the actors does something fairly reprehensible. He throws a baby from a train.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I think I ruined that play at the high school because I said yeet when he did it.
You did that, and we were like, "Shh, don't say that." But that was like one of our favorite parts. Is like he threw that. So then people were like, "We got to go see the play," and I'm like, "Well, make sure you watch for when he throws the baby from the train because that was our favorite part of the movie or the play."
The play.
Yeah, we're horrible people. Sorry about that.
It's kind of a dark humor moment in a way. But I remember
really is.
One of the nights we did that, and it's a very, and all the choir sings in the background, and the baby lands on the front of the stage, and then everything goes black. And all we heard was an old man in the audience go, "Oh, I don't like that," which is different than yeet.
I think there was a lot of like ahs and oohs because people were like, what just happened?
Yes.
It's very jarring.
But we're sitting over there going, oh, they just killed a baby.
Well, I think it's because it was a high school play and we knew all the kids.
You knew
and so we were just playing along. I wasn't being a jerk.
Exactly.
It was just funny.
Yep.
It's funny. It was way funny.
But those are those kind of reactions you just never know what you're going to get. I do love that moment because it's so impactful and it gets people's attention. And now most of your audience, unless they're so offended they walk out, which hopefully doesn't happen very often, but most of your audience is now going to take their bathroom break and their snack break and go, what is going to happen? Did that baby die? What is going to happen? And I love to hear that because where I was performing, you could actually hear, if you stand backstage at a certain spot, you can hear the audience talking and kind of eavesdrop. And so you hear people going, oh my gosh, gosh, what's going to happen next? What do you think? Was the baby killed? Does that have something to do with, and so it gets people's excitement going. And again, that energy is palpable as a performer. And so when the next act starts and you start the opening of the second act, the sun is going to shine again, and now people are like, oh wow, okay, so there is a bright side, maybe there is something good, and you get that audience. And once you get that energy between the performers and the audience, you've got them in the palm of their hand. They are just hanging on every word that's coming up next, because they want to find out what this story is going to happen. And that takes me back to when just sitting and reading stories to your kids, and if you make this story exciting, the bedtime story, those kids are going to just be hanging on everything you say and wondering what's going to happen next. I love that feeling.
So my daughter's a stage manager, so all the parts of the play, she has like some funny like little whatever it's called, and that thing she calls the "please come back from intermission" part, right? And she showed it to me on the Phantom of the Opera, where he with a chandelier falls,
drops,
right, and then then it goes into intermission, and so it's like, what happened? Let's go back. So, question. Now, what I've learned in the NBA is that statistically, 50% of businesses fail after the first year.
Yes.
And 80% fail after the first 5 years. So what is your company doing to like making sure that they're still stay relevant and keep ahead of that curve and make sure that everything's great in the next 5 years?
Excellent question. And yes. And luckily we have broken that level by being an active community group for 10 years.
Oh, wow. Congrats.
Yeah, exactly. We've been doing great, and we're hoping to be here for many, many more years after. But one of the things to stay relevant is choices of theater. Some of the things we've already talked about. When we choose a Shakespeare play, we usually try to put an interesting spin on it, like Richard III in Candyland, or whatever it is, so that people are not just complacent. Oh, I've already seen that show. I've already seen a show just like that. Why would I go back to see it again? And so doing things like that helps. Doing new and interesting works. One of the things we have coming up as a fundraiser for the Colorado Mesa University Young Writers Conference. We're raising money to help offset some of their costs for bringing students who want to be writers in the future. And so we're taking submissions of short one-acts and monologues and plays from the community. So now we've got some theater that has never been seen by anybody before. We've got people that have written things and want to see it on stage. So that's a great way to bring people in. Picking shows that have not been done over and over to death. Some shows I love, but I have done Grease 3 times. I don't want to do Grease anymore. Leave that to the high school kids who haven't had a chance to do that. So Bright Star is one of those shows that it's starting to gain in popularity, but Bright Star has never been done here. So
yeah, I think the interesting thing, because like we're from Utah.
Yeah.
So our school district, we have a husband and wife that work at 2 different schools. And they will both do the same play. But they do it in such a different spin-off that like, I don't know, our high school is known for like going to like the Shakespeare Festival down in Cedar City or down in St. George.
Yep.
Utah.
St. George. Yep.
And they come home with so many awards.
Oh, I bet.
But then like you see the other high school, and we haven't been to as many plays because now that like our daughter, like our kids are graduated, so like
moved on.
Those kids have like all moved on. So I'm like, we can go to a play, but we don't know. We don't know like the actors now. But like seeing the way different shows are done.
Yes.
And you're like, well, but I saw that like recently or a while back we went and saw Phantom of the Opera at the high school.
Oh, nice.
But the difference is like I was taking it because I saw it Broadway.
Oh, yeah.
And New York. So like there's like different things. But man, those kids, like they knocked it out of the park.
Yes.
Like, it was amazing.
Well, and that's another thing, and going back to what we said about keeping current and trying to get social media that the kids are on, that is a big part of it, is developing that new talent, those young people. And Ben's another great example, is we get these kids very young that have found their niche, have found their people, and instead of telling them what they're doing wrong, you tell them what they're doing right.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you develop those things, and then you work through the things they do wrong and fix those things in a positive way.
Yeah.
And the more positive experiences those kids have, the more that's going to draw into things, and the more we're going to stay relevant into the future. If you have just all professional actors that are very good and a little older, you're not opening it up to those younger people, and you end up closing yourself off to a degree, especially in small communities.
I also see where, like, it changes people.
Yes.
Because I think that, like, and I know that, like, Ben's getting older, but, like, him from a year ago to what we just, like, kind of, you know, spent a little time with him last night.
Yeah.
He's changed so much.
Yeah. And
like,
hopefully for the better.
But yeah. So here's one for you. As a playwright and a business owner, what daily routines or mindsets help you balance creativity and entrepreneurship?
That is a really good question as well. And some of that balance is not easy to find. There is an element of routine, but also spontaneity. With routine, there are certain things that have to be done. You have to check your social media. You have to make sure that posts are relevant. You have to make certain posts. But there's a spontaneity, a creativity, because you look over videos that you may do, or what kind of post am I going to do that might get people's attention. We have regular meetings every month, and then production meetings once a month as well. And we call them the Plan Everything meetings. And that's where we lay out what's coming up, what everybody needs to do, and delegating who is taking care of what and when. And those kind of elements are super important. But again, that also turns into, hey, and by the way, I'm thinking of something that we need to do, or that we'd like to do in the future. So getting that going is important too. Also, again, with that routine element, and I have been writing plays and doing adaptations, a lot of that is writing no matter what, doing something creative every day, whether it's as a writer, as a director, or as a performer. You try to do something different every day that keeps that creative juice flowing, to use a way too overused phrase. But one of the things when I was taking playwriting in college long ago, it's you get up and you write. And it's for an hour a day or a half an hour a day, whatever it is, and it doesn't matter whether what you write is seen or not. You're doing something to help your creative process, and that helps a lot.
Yeah, I was talking to an author recently, and he was, or she was saying, write one sentence a day.
Yep, at least.
Just if you're not going to do anything that day, or if you're too tired, if you're sick. And even if it's a bad sentence, just write a sentence.
Yep.
And a day.
Sometimes it doesn't even matter.
So going back to one word that you said, because I struggle with this word, is delegation. How do you just delegate and have the faith that it's going to be done, and you have to let that portion go? Like, how does delegation look for you?
It is an up and down situation. I've got to be dead honest with you on that. Delegation is hard, and anybody who's a business owner who's listening knows this, that a lot of the times we have an attitude of, well, if I don't do it, it's not going to get done. Yeah. And there is a degree of that where we have to do that, but we also find that what happens if one of us gets hit by a bus? The people who, that's what we joke about.
Win
the
lottery.
Or win the lottery and disappear. Yeah, who knows? Yeah. If I won the lottery, I'd just be doing this all the time. I tell you that. Yeah. But other people, yes. A delegation is important so that you're training up the next generation of people to take over, so that if you do get hit by a bus, all joking aside on that, or that something happens with your health, or something happens in your family's life where you just can't be as involved, and so you have to take a different focus. So if that happens, and I've seen it happen with several organizations here in town and other places, that if one person is the go-to person who tries to do everything and that person stumbles, then the entire organization can go down. And you can't do that. That's the way an organization dies. So we delegate, but we also have fail-safes. So for example, when I started training up as a producer for Geek Parties Theater, Ann Harder had been doing, the president of our board, had been doing a lot of the production elements. So she was the backup producer and I was the main producer. So she was there to shadow me, to help me along the process, to go to meetings with venues and sponsors and grant proposals and things like that. And if you spend a year or so doing that, now you've got somebody trained up and you've still got a backup just in case. And it's the same thing with all delegations. We hire directors, and part of our grant money goes to paying our directors, but the director has the board members and the producer to fall back on. If they have a problem, if their delegations say to their technical director is not working out, their technical director, something happens and they can't finish a set piece, then they reach out to us for help. And we've got that community. And that's why it's so important to have that community in our group, is that just like we were talking earlier about, is if something happens, somebody is always willing to step up. And I've seen a lot of organizations die because they don't have that fail-safe. They don't have that backup. And if something happens, the whole group is gone. That's sad.
Yeah, another important thing about delegation too is that, like, I tell you these stories a lot, but I'm gonna do it again. It's like I wash my car better than anybody, and I wax it and I detail it, and my car looks amazing.
I'm sure.
It takes me all day to do that.
Of course.
I could hire Timmy down the street for $10 and he'll do it. Not as good as me, but I freed up my entire day. So I'm gonna have a car that's not as great as if I did it, but it's done.
Yes.
And I freed up my entire day. Now, my time is worth a lot more than Timmy's time. His was an hour, and it was $10. Mine's $1,000, right? So I freed up my time to do something that's more important, and letting this kind of small stuff aside. A lot of people get caught on that. They want their car perfect, but it's like you gotta let that go if you want to grow.
Yep, and you're exactly right. Time is money, and I mean, so you have to take that into account. And sometimes you do delegate, and you feel like when you see something on stage, you're like, I think it could have been a little better. But you also keep in mind that everybody else in that audience most likely have no idea. They have no idea that the difference would have been, better or worse, one way or the other. So to use your example, when that car is driving down the street, people are still going to say, oh, that's a nice looking car. It looks clean. It looks good. Now to you, because you have that eye, you're like, but there's a few water spots there on the hood. But the majority of people that are going to see that vehicle, and in my case, see that performance, are going to say, it's great, no matter what. And sometimes, yes, you can get hung up on a production and say, man, if I would have done this, it would have been better. Guess what? That's okay. Yeah, you get to a point, and I think that's part of maturity. And I've gotten to a certain age where you say, you know what? That's okay. It's maybe not quite as good as I wanted it to be, but it was good in its own way. And because I delegated, because somebody else had the opportunity to say, paint a backdrop in a particular way, wasn't quite my vision. I used to be a scenic painter. I could say, oh man, I would have done this a little differently, but look how awesome it does look. You focus on the positives instead of the negatives.
That's
and
a good point.
We get hung up as a society, I think all of us do, we get hung up on the negatives. We think of all the things that are wrong with something instead of all the great things that are right with something. And those people, those young ladies that I delegated our backdrop painting to last year for our big musical, they got great experience. And the next time they paint a backdrop, it's going to be even better.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely. So what, I know that we've already kind of touched on this a little bit, but what's your advice for somebody that's entrepreneurial, they want to get started? It doesn't have to be in this industry, but
Sure.
just someone who has a vision, they want to get started, but they're kind of like nervous about getting that first foot out the door. They don't know what to do.
Well, the advice I would say, and it sounds trite, but don't give up. Number one, just keep plugging at it. I've been working in doing what I do, theater, for 23 years here in the Valley, and almost 10 years before that. So a grand total of 30 plus years that I've been working in the industry, and when I have something go wrong, when there have been a couple of shows that did not happen, and that is one of those moments for an entrepreneur, for a business owner, for somebody who works in nonprofit. No matter what it is, you're going to have failures. You're going to have something go wrong, and it may only be a minor thing, or it may be catastrophic, but you can come back from that. You can pick yourself back up from that. And whether it's trying to continue on with that show and find a new venue and move forward, whatever it is, or picking something else and following that. Whichever it is, you don't give up. You can't just, and it's tempting sometimes to wallow. If you have a couple of failures, if you have a couple of things go really wrong in your life, in your business, in whatever you do, the temptation is to go lay in bed and say, you know what, I give up. There's no point. If you do that, then yes, it's over. You might as well give up. But no, don't. That's my advice to anybody is don't give up. Keep trying. Now, of course, the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over again and expect different results. So in that same vein, don't give up, but take a moment, step back and rethink. See if there is a new way to come at this. And again, I hate speaking in these trite sayings, but thinking outside the box sometimes helps. When you can step back and say, okay, I've been saying I want to do a show at the biggest venue in town. Well, it got canceled. It didn't work. For whatever reason, something went wrong. Okay, I'll go to a smaller venue and I'll pick an easier project so I can ease back into things. And that right there, as long as you're still in the game, as long as you're still participating and doing things, then those failures are not going to matter in the long run. It's going to be something in your rear view mirror, and you'll say, you know what? Yeah, I've had some bad things happen, but I learned from them and I kept going. I kept moving on.
Yeah, it reminds me of something I read that says, I said this 50 times, but I'm going to say it again.
I do it too.
Yeah. I read this thing that said, a boxer doesn't get good by researching and like looking up stuff.
No.
He gets good by getting in the ring and getting punched in the face.
Yep.
Right? The best boxer didn't just Google a bunch of stuff. Like,
No.
He just went out there and got beat up a lot.
Yeah.
And now he's the best, you know?
Yep. And you do as a business owner, as anybody who he heads an organization. And I think anybody, the human condition is that you're not always going to win. You're not always going to win the match. You're not always going to win what you're going to do, but getting in and doing it, you're going to get better. And so the next time you may win, and you may win big. You just never know. So that's what I do.
It's true. It's true. You have to try things over
Yes,
and over.
I agree.
All right. So just one more here. So where can listeners, so we've talked about this just a little bit. We've touched on a couple of the shows, but where can listeners find out about the upcoming performances, get tickets, or connect with your company? Where's the best connections?
Well, that is a great, and thank you again for mentioning that. There is, number one, our central hub, which the word that you use, which is a great way to do it, and that is our website. We are at Linktree / Geek Parties of the Grand Valley. That is a website. You can easily search us up. Our main social media is still Facebook, so you can find us on Facebook at Geek Parties of the Grand Valley. If you are specifically looking for our theater events, we have a subpage called Geek Parties Theater, and that is on Facebook. You can find out information there. We also do have a special page that focuses on our Summer Shakespeare series, and that is Summer Shakespeare Series of the Grand Valley. So those are some great places to find more information about us. Once again, though, if you really do want to find out more, Linktree / Geek Parties is your go-to, and that's going to give you all of our summer and fall theater events and special events coming up. As I mentioned, we have Richard III set in Candyland, which should be a lot of fun and very wacky, not what you expect Shakespeare. That's going to be running in August. At several different venues, including the ones we've already mentioned, Peachfork Winery and the Lowell School downtown, which is the Gemini Brewing Company. And then we are going to be doing the Poe Project in October, which is readings and different cool events to get you in the mood for Halloween during the month of October. We'll also be doing a candy crawl instead of a pub crawl. It'll be a candy crawl where you go around and get candy. Yep. So that's going to be a fun event. We have also some very silly little fun events that are very easy to do, not theatrical events. We do trivia. Geeks do trivia, so we'll be doing trivia contests and also a cheesy vampire drama. I'm not sure what all that is. That's something I've delegated, and somebody else had the idea, and so I said, go with it, do it.
Oh, we're going to have to keep up on these dates so we can come to town see a lot of this.
And some of these things I know very little about. Undertale is apparently a video game, that a lot of kids play, and so there is an Undertale 10th birthday party that we're going to be doing a special event for. Yep. Again, something for everybody. That's our goal. And then our big crown jewel this year is going to be Bright Star in November. That is going to be November 14th and 15th at the Avalon Theater, downtown Grand Junction. If you've never been there, it's a beautiful historic building and just a great place to come see a show. And I know you guys know Bright Star is a wonderful musical that keeps you on the edge of your seat. And even though we throw a baby off a train, don't worry. No babies were harmed in the making of this production.
Only the evil ones. No. Well, David, thank you so much for giving us your time.
Thank you so much for having me on and letting me talk about Geek Parties and Geek Parties Theater, because we have so much fun and we always feel the more the merrier. We would love to have audiences from anywhere and everywhere that would like to be a part of this.
This has been fun. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so that was David. So, Becky, what did you think of the conversation? You were there actually this time.
I liked it. I liked being able, number 2 now, of helping you. But I can't say I want to go meet David, even though I was there, because I have met him prior to us doing the interview.
But still.
It was amazing.
Yeah, it was fun. The first thing I thought was maybe we should get actors to do this more often, because we barely had to put any effort.
Yeah, we didn't have to do a whole lot. David just kind of took it and ran with it.
Yeah, it was great. So, like, what stood out for you mainly? Like, the one thing that really jumped out to me was that David's going to be throwing an Undertale 10th birthday party, which I know that's a video game, but I didn't know that it was going to be that geeky. I knew that they said geek theater, but I didn't know if they were going that geeky. Do you even know what that game is?
I don't.
Okay.
No.
It's a very famous game. It's a video game nonetheless, but the premise of it is you're playing a little kid and you go into like a monster world, and you can either be like a protagonist or an antagonist. Like, you can either kill all the monsters or you can like be friends with all the monsters. So it's a huge thing. But apparently it's having a 10th birthday party.
That's cool.
The other big thing that I have here is that We talked about Bright Star for a second.
We did. Brings back the memories of when Lynn was in high school.
Yeah. I didn't know that. I didn't know it was such a serious movie until I saw it, and then I kind of ruined it with the whole yeet joke. But it seemed it was funny.
It was funny though. I think it's amazing that like such a little community and the theater that they have can do such a huge production. So that might be one of those that we need to go to Grand Junction for.
Yeah, I really like their productions. I highly recommend it for anybody that's going to be out in the Colorado area. I wish they came out this way, but right now they're just kind of in that area. It's really fun, and I really like those productions.
They do a lot. They do good work for being such a small group. Mm-hmm. And also to comment on not just the small group, but we talked about it while we were talking to David about how it changes people. I've seen a super change in your mom, and how much she loves like the acting part. She's taking acting classes that they've offered, and also how much Ben has grown from it, and how much he loves doing theater because now he's in technically middle school, I think is what Ben's in, and he's taking drama, and how much this has helped him now that he's going to be able to do more with school productions.
David kind of knows what he's doing. He's been around the block. He's been doing this for a bit. So a lot of the pointers he gave out for the business side, I mean, he nailed it. I don't really need to go into depth with that one. I do know that we are going to be talking about some more business in the next episode. But I think since this interview is already kind of long enough, I think I kind of want to keep this part of it a little bit short. But big rocks that I'm thinking about is how he marketed in the beginnings, how he tried to test the market to see if there was viable TAM, which he did. And then, the pandemic struck and knocked everything down. I really liked how he said things like his tip for people was to just keep at it, don't quit. And he makes a good role model for other people. I think he's really good at what he does, and I think what he does shows in the productions that are put together by him. I think he did a really good job kind of walking through that first year's kind of business stuff, and I really kind of want to just keep it short. Anything else you want to say before we kind of wrap this up?
Hey, one more thing. Hey, don't forget to like and subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen so you don't miss our next episodes or our previous episodes.
That's true. We got a lot of good content out there. We're going to be changing it up a little bit in the next couple episodes. We wanted to try a different kind of format, not so much interview, but more business talk. So we did talk to a friend, and we're going to kind of put that one out in next week or so.
That'll be fun. I got to interview Dan and Levi. That one was fun because I got to be in charge.
Yeah, and I have a few other people that want to be in that one. And I've done a couple other interviews since then. So, that's it. We're just going to keep it short and sweet. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope you learned a lot from David. And again, please look into the description. We always put a kind of an ad in there to promote the person that we're talking about and interviewing. Please look down there, see where you can get tickets to his next kind of shows. At least go in there and see what they're all about. If you're in the area, if you're in the Colorado area, please go check them out and see what we can do to show them the love that he showed us. Anything else, Becky?
If you want to go from Utah County down to Grand Junction, Colorado,
it's only 4 hours.
It's only like a 3.5, 4 hour drive. So
exactly.
It's a good weekend.
It's great out there. And plus we talked to a couple other people out there, so you might be able to check some other things out. But anyway, that's the show. Like Becky said, don't forget to like and subscribe and do all those other things that you're supposed to do with these things, and let other people know. Also, let us know if there's anybody you think we should interview. If you want to be on the podcast, if you have a small business, or if you know someone with a small business, or if you just want to talk business with us, please let us know, and we will see what we can do to get you on the show. And with that, we will see you next time on From Ideas to Income.
See you later.
Bye.